of the year. A full spring. It's full spring. It's a glorious new green world. I missed last week's service as I was visiting friends in Maine. When I told one friend of my feelings for May, she gave me a two-word answer: black flies. So I know that not everybody feels the same way I do, but I assure you, I promise, that we will have in May a weekend that is not cold, nasty, and wet, like everyone for the past 2 months. Here are a few lines from a short poem by Emily Dickinson, who wrote many wonderful short poems. Pink, small, and punctual, aromatic, low, covert in April, candid in May. So that which was covert last month, this month is candid. I'm Karl Lindholm, a member of the worship team, and I'm assisting this morning Tricia Hart, one of our 2 interim ministers. Tricia. Our theme for the services this month is imagination. And Tricia will share with us today her thoughts on imagination, curiosity, and wisdom. Good time to silence your phones. I never mind being reminded. If you have a milestone or passage, a joy or concern you would like to share with the congregation, please fill out a yellow card. They're available right by the door outside. And put it in the offering basket. Pink cards, there are pink cards out there as well. And fill out a pink card if you'd like the help of the Caring Network. Blue sheets are there too if you're visiting. And do fill one of those out so we can be in touch. And do join us for the coffee hour downstairs after the service in the Ann Ross Fellowship Hall. Now, Kieran is going to help us light the chalice. Our chalice lighting is also from Vonnegut, a writer who was imbued with Unitarian Universalist values. I thought, I'd written in my notes, I thought, well, Vonnegut was a UU. I knew that. Everybody knows that. But he actually never was a UU officially. But he just was one of us in many ways, spiritually, emotionally, and so forth. Viewpoint, I think. So please read with me these words of admonition as we light our chalice, signifying the light and the truth of Unitarian Universalism. Be soft. Do not let the world make you hard. Do not let pain make you hate. Do not let bitterness steal your sweetness. Thank you.
Kurt Vonnegut, as I have maybe found out for sure, was definitely UU friendly. He was an avowed humanist. So we're going to count him as one of us today. Actually, all of the readings and most of the music today, this is very unusual, is in fact from Unitarian Universalists at different times in our history together, including these opening words. They were written by Reverend Dennis McCarty, who is, like many of us, sort of retired UU minister. And his website is called Thoughts from a Gentle Atheist. And this piece he calls Our Religious Invite Our religion invites us. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition does not favor one particular opinion about God or no God, about life after death, or about what that kind of language even ought to mean. We believe it is not the role of a church or a minister to tell people what to think. We do, however, suggest that a person ought to think something. There is wonderful mystery to the universe. Our religion invites us to enter in and explore all the wonder, all the mystery. It is not about one faith being right while another faith is wrong. It is that sincere people of different faiths have much to teach one another. If only we can cease from arguing long enough to listen and be taught. I would invite you to sing together this piece that you may or may not need the music for is in this hymnal. It's number 1050. It's a jazz alleluia, and it's by Thomas Benjamin, who is a Unitarian Universalist composer. Please rise in body or spirit or sit or stand, whatever you like. It's all good. So, since Julia told me that I could do the Time for All Ages today, which I love to do, thank you, Julia, I'm about to invite you to greet one another. Many of you know, if you've been here on and off over the last few months, Reverend Christina and I have very intentionally asked you to help explore some different ways that during the service people might actually greet one another. We've done this 3 or 4 times, and it's been a little different every time. And today, it's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to ask you to turn to a person near you and just look at them and then say hello. And somebody needs to come and sit in the front row so Rosalie has a person. But not yet. Because first we're going to do a little thinking about imagination. Because here's the thing. when I turn, and Karl, you can play with me, you can stay right there. When I am greeting somebody and I turn to them, and I have all kinds of whatever intentions I have to be greeting, in fact, when I turn and look at them, I see the face of the person. And that was a lovely neutral look. I appreciate it. The thing about it is, I don't know how to interpret a neutral look. It doesn't seem bad, it doesn't seem good, and that's fine, except that my imagination doesn't know how to do nothing. So depending probably on how I'm feeling that day, I might decide that a neutral look is friendly, but I could equally decide that a neutral look is depressed, or I could decide that a neutral look is hostile. Okay, admit it. How many of you have actually done that last one yourself? Thank you, Francois. I definitely have. So, just to give you a little bit of time to think about it, Kate Gridley, there you are, Kate, and I are going to do, we're going to demonstrate this a little bit. And though we've talked about it, we have not rehearsed. So Kate very kindly agreed like 5 minutes ago to do this with me. And I am going to get ready to greet Kate. And she's going to get ready to greet me. And we're going to turn our faces away from each other. And then we're going to say, hello. Okay. I want you to help me think about what I might react to that. In what way might I imagine Kate is feeling toward me? Sorry, John? Dismissive. Ooh. Okay. Yes. Yes. Jordan. I'm sorry. Who finds? Indeed. Okay, just in case you didn't hear Jordan, someone, Kate, might be a person who finds eye contact off-putting, maybe even a little scary. So if you don't want to make eye contact with the person right next to you, you might make eye contact with that person in the corner of the room that you don't even know, but that's okay. All right. Anything else you want to say about how you might have, unimportant, Anne? How can I be unimportant? But yeah, there is very definitely that possibility. All right, we're going to do this again, okay? Okay, I first have to ask, thank you. Has that ever happened to you? And how did it make you feel? Ticked off. Ticked off. Why? Just say a little bit more. Wait, she's your spouse. I probably shouldn't ask you. Who else might have had a reaction to that? Francois. I'll come back to you if you want. Okay, good. Yes, Ann. Alone. So here I am, I've worked myself up to say hello to this person I don't know very well, and actually I do, and I've put out that effort, and I've imagined that I'm a friendly person, and I discover that in fact I'm at least not very interesting. Yeah, or maybe, Francois, what were you going to say? Humiliated. I might feel humiliated. All right, let us be a little more generous for a moment in our imagination. What else might have been the story? Sorry? I missed that. She needs new glasses. That could be. Scott, what were you thinking? She might have been scared of looking in my eyes. Yes? Maybe she is actually expecting an important phone call. Maybe she's just gotten a scary text from somebody and she knows that they're about to call and she needs to be available. Yeah. So isn't that amazing that maybe that was the situation, and I created this whole world of hurt that's about me, that among many other things doesn't allow me to actually connect with Kate because I'm so busy taking care of myself. All right, let's do this one more time. You ready? Oh my gosh. Hi. Oh, I just want to hug her. So what did I imagine? Listen, accepting warm person. Yeah, Andrea. And she was happy to see me. Yeah, yeah. Tom, did you have or I'm sorry, maybe that was Andrea's hand. Yeah.
I saw vulnerability on both sides.
Vulnerability and tenderness. Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
It felt very genuine.
It felt very genuine up here too. Yeah. Thank you for that. I practiced, oh, sorry, yes. Joy, real joy. And from what? From a look on the face and a single word and a gesture. I mean, such small things and real joy. Yeah. I made my husband, Peter, practice this with me yesterday to see if it would work. And he gave me kind of similarly, though I didn't prompt him. Anyway, he was even worse than you. And then the third time, I turned and he went, and I just felt like my day was made. And I'd asked him to do it, and so our imaginations are powerful. They are not, thank you, Kate, very much. They are not always helpful in terms of helping us to know the truth. So, would you just, right where you are, take a breath. And I don't need you to move, because I think almost everybody is sitting next to somebody else. And you might need to scoot back one row. Okay, good. So take a breath, and then turn to the person near you and just greet them. So, thank you. Thank you for doing this imagination experiment with me and one another. There I am. It's time for the children to go off to religious exploration, and it is time for all of us to sing our song. In case you haven't seen it already, the other side of your order of service is a long and lovely list of some of the ways that you could become more involved in this congregation and maybe greet some other folks too. So I'm not going to read them all to you. I hope that you will do that, but know that there is the first announcement is an important one about ways that you could learn more and get involved with affordable housing challenges and unaffordable housing challenges in this community. The Rhubarb Festival is not that far away. Oh my goodness, there's rhubarb in the room. Lise, where did that rhubarb come from? From Lisa's garden. Is there any rhubarb growing around this building? Yes. So you could go check it out. I'm sure the rainy weather helps the rhubarb. So the Rhubarb Festival is a fabulous event. I will not be able to be there this year because I'm going to be 10 days into some recovery from a knee surgery, so I'm going to miss it. But you all really don't want to miss it because it's fun and music-filled, and you get to buy cool things in addition to all the rhubarb things that you get to buy and eat. So plan on coming. Oops. I think it doesn't say that the date of the Rhubarb Festival is the last Saturday in May. But it is. It is, yes. Parents' Night Out. How many of you remember the tradition of Parents' Night Out from the past? Oh my goodness, this is so great. This is a wonderful thing that this congregation did for a number of years, and then the pandemic made it go away. But it's coming back as a chance for parents and caregivers to bring their kids, and the children get to eat and play, courtesy of the Caring Network volunteers, while the parents and caregivers get to actually hang out with each other in a different building. I have to say, I haven't told Julia this, but in the church that I belonged to when my children were small in Yarmouth, Maine, where lots of wonderful things happened, this is the one thing I longed for, and it never happened. So I'm so glad that you are doing it. So let Julia know if you want to come. The building's going to be very busy this week. Avoid this building if you can, because it's going to be mostly filled with high school students taking exams for the International Baccalaureate program. If you'd like to be a delegate to General Assembly in June, please come to talk to me or Christina. And there is, in addition to various things, ways of possibly working for this congregation, singing at Marble Works, and watching a film. So please notice all of those. And very importantly, today is Blue Jean Sunday. Did you know that? How many of you wore blue jeans? A bunch of you did. That's really great. So I had a short conversation with Bob House, who is the chair of the Facilities Committee and the leader for Blue Jean Sunday, and he wants you to know that if you can stay and volunteer after the service, that you will be doing mostly indoor work today. Isn't that wonderful? You're welcome to come anytime and work outside, and there is an outside list posted on the bulletin board in the foyer. But today, the jobs are including washing windows and dust screens, cleaning interior edges that get all dusty, clean soiled chairs, seats, and kitchen cleaning. So you know how to do that, right? So you might be able to help. Thank you very much, if you can. I'm now going to introduce the offering by inviting up Colleen and Maya to come and tell us about Gather and the Bread Love Zen community and what this shared offering is all about.
Good morning. As many or most of you probably know, I've been an active member of this congregation for 25 years, but have also been sort of here a little bit less because I've been very involved in Bread Loaf Mountain Zen community as well. And Maya is a fellow this year at Breadloaf Mountain Zen, and she's going to talk a little bit about Gather and what Breadloaf is doing, and you'll get to hear a different voice than mine.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Is it okay? Good? Oh, okay. Thank you so much for welcoming me today, and thank you especially to CVUUS for your partnership, for your friendship, and for your steady presence in this shared work of healing and connection. My name is Maya Pemble, and I'm a Community Zen Fellow at Breadloaf Mountain Zen Community. At BLMZC, our practice is rooted in both contemplation and community. So yes, we sit in silence, but we also believe that awakening happens in the kitchen, on the sidewalk, in the laundry room, and around the dinner table. Our vow is to meet the world as it is, with open hearts, and to help cultivate the world as it could be. Right now, we're in the process of renovating and moving into our new home just around the corner at 76 Court Street. It's long been Joshin's vision that the lines would blur between temple and town, between meditation and social action, between silence and hospitality, seeing Zen practice and folding laundry at Gather and property management at the Grove as not separate things. One practice, one life, one community. Gather is our community living room in Middlebury, a space where people from all walks of life can drop in without needing to fix anything or prove anything or buy anything. It's a place for coffee, art, music, folding laundry, and being in safe, good company. It's ordinary and sacred. Right next door at 74 Court Street is the Grove, our transitional housing program. It offers a stable home and wraparound support for people exiting homelessness and incarceration. But more than that, it's a shared effort. Residents and neighbors learning together how to improve this, how to welcome and not exclude. This year, we hope to replace the windows for better energy efficiency and improve this space to feel more dignifying and more comfortable. And we'd like to start a community garden where people from Gather and from the Grove and the extended BLMZC community can grow food and flowers side by side, hands in the dirt, growing something nourishing and beautiful together. All of this is Zen practice, bringing people together as a path of building healthy and vital communities, awakening to oneness, diversity, and the harmony of life itself. And we couldn't do any of it without supporters like you. Thank you, CVUUS, for your generosity, for your care, and for your belief in this work. We are deeply grateful. Thank you.
And if anyone has questions or wants to talk about Gather or the Grove or Breadloaf, Joshin is here and Maya and I are here, and there are a number of people in this congregation who are volunteers at Gather, so we're all happy to talk about it. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Maya and Colleen and all of you. This morning's offering, which will be shared with the Breadloaf Mountain Zen community and Gather, will now be most gratefully received. So we have a little update about the Roots and Wings campaign from Steve Meyer and Heidi Sewell.
Good morning. My name is Steve Meyer.
And I'm Heidi Sewell, and we're here on behalf of the campaign team this morning to give you this update. Am I starting?
You go first.
Okay. So we want to share a quick post-campaign update with you, and we have a few new concrete details to highlight. So just for a little recap, and some of you may be for the first time with us this morning, we celebrated an incredibly successful campaign last month, raising $982,157 through 78 gifts for the capital campaign. Thank you. Our goal was to raise $880,000, so we reached 112% of our goal. And included in this number are two significant designated gifts that will need to be considered when the board is deciding how to direct and use the additional funds raised.
On the annual budget side of the campaign, we raised so far $313,100 from 98 pledge units. Our goal was to raise a little more than that, about 330,000. So we're just under 95% so far for the campaign. We're hopeful that another 4 to 6 pledges will be coming in over the next month to help close this small gap. In any event, the Finance Committee feels confident, given unanticipated activity, donations, and bequests that happen in any given year, including this one, that they will be able to successfully address this situation and present a fair and balanced budget for next year at the June annual meeting.
With Mary Hadley's help, who is amazing at keeping everything exquisitely organized on a tracker, here are a few stats that might be fun for you to learn. So, on the annual side of the campaign, 34 pledgers increased their gift this year, 41 level funded their gifts, 10 decreased their gift, 18 did not renew their gift, and 14 are new to us with gifts. And according to Reverend Tricia and Mark Ewart, who are very experienced with this kind of activity and highs and lows are very typical when conducting an annual appeal with a capital campaign. But we were very encouraged by that.
Further, we know that many of you are interested in paying down the mortgage for this building. And we're excited to share that that a couple of weeks ago, Mary Conlon paid $83,000 toward our principal. We now owe approximately $320,000 on the mortgage, and the finance team has made a recommendation to the board that we pay off the mortgage by the end of the year, provided that the campaign pledges that we received as part of the campaign are made as anticipated. And the board has endorsed that idea.
Much good news to share and celebrate. So in closing, and on behalf of our amazing team, we continue to feel incredibly grateful for your participation and generosity. And that it will not only help us meet these very concrete goals we set out to attain, but should also position us beautifully for greater stability ahead, for our ministerial search, and all of those things that we are looking forward to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have 3 yellow cards to read today. Jake Loven writes, had a fantastic time at the open mic night last night. Here, so many touching performances, poetry, comedy, music, and stories made the night diverse and beautiful all around. Thanks to everyone who coordinated it and everyone who participated. Marnie Wood confirms that report. Oh, what fun we had last night at the open mic gathering here in the sanctuary. Such variety and talent. Thank you to our music ministry team for hosting such an amazing and delightful opportunity for connection in so many ways. Wonderful. And a third one, Mary Conlon writes, Peter and I are delighted to share the news that our son Emerson, who grew up in this congregation, and his wife Rachel welcomed Piper Leonora Conquest on May Day. May Day. There's another reason to celebrate May, right? After extremely long labor, they're happily settling into life as a family of 3. And I ask for your patience if I go a little overboard in sharing too many pictures and too many stories. I, too, am settling into this new stage of life. So, I'm sure, as always, there are joys and concerns in our hearts that remain unspoken. Thank you.
Would you join me and one another in some moments of quiet together? Meditation or prayer, or just a chance to notice that you are here in body and spirit and in company. Our spoken meditation this morning is by D. Scott Cooper, another Unitarian Universalist. He calls it, "We Imagine a Path." We bow our heads in order to imagine not one path, but many. We imagine a path forward for those who cannot imagine any path forward because of poor health or financial hardship or family crises or other roadblocks we cannot begin to imagine. We struggle to imagine a path forward for those who are forced to leave a homeland against their will, and for those unable to leave a war-torn homeland despite their lives being in danger. We imagine a path forward for those who leave their homes to make a better life for their families elsewhere. May we be a welcoming presence along that path toward hope. We come together to imagine a path forward for those of us despairing because we do not seem to know our country nor our neighbors, despite the fact that we have not moved at all. May we be the good we are hoping to find as we travel side by side down the path toward hope. We imagine a path forward for those who feel lonely. May we take one another's hands as we walk that path toward community. Truly, we know as we imagine these ways forward, the paths will lead to hope. The roads will lead to beloved community, and the arc will bend toward justice, because we have dared to travel with love in our hearts. Let us join together in a moment of silence.
I like that phrase by Tricia. Kurt Vonnegut was Unitarian Universalist friendly. Many of the people I admire most and like best are Unitarian Universalists, but they don't know it. Today's reading is a collection of insights by Vonnegut, Kurt Vonnegut, whose gift was to create meaning in a chaotic world, often employing humor, irony, sometimes devastating irony, and whimsy to make his point. I sometimes think we could use a little Vonnegut these days. And he writes, if you really want to hurt your parents, and you don't have the nerve to be gay, the least you can do is go into the arts. I'm not kidding. The arts are not a way to make a living. They're a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow, for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. Being a humanist means trying to behave decently, without expectation of rewards or punishment after you are dead. A purpose of human life, no matter who is controlling it, is to love whoever is around to be loved. Laughter and tears are both responses to frustration and exhaustion. I myself prefer to laugh, since there is less cleaning up to do afterward. To be is to do, Socrates. To do is to be, Sartre. To be, do, Sinatra. We are here on earth to fart around. Don't let anyone tell you different. We are who we imagine ourselves to be.
I was 16 when I left the Catholic Church, and I was 32 years old when I signed a membership book and became a Unitarian Universalist. Everything that happened to me in the 16 years between my two very different religious identities helped shape who I became and why I'm here now. It's probably true for all of us. 16 to 32, a lot can happen. And that was true for me, not least because that's when I began reading Kurt Vonnegut and many other writers who taught me that truth is about a whole lot more than facts. Writers whose gift, as Karl said, was to learn something, to teach us something about meaning making in a chaotic world. A gift that has never been more useful than in these times. In my Catholic years, and I went to Catholic school a lot of those years, so I supposedly learned a lot. But as I look back, we were not taught to value imagination, except perhaps in imagining how wonderful heaven would be and how horrible hell is. I found both completely terrifying. The idea of infinity gave me nightmares. So I tried not to imagine any of this. Terror, I find, is not conducive to the kind of freedom and joy that we associate with imagining. The kind of imagining that our Unitarian Universalist colleagues at Soul Matters, the shared collaborative worship materials thing that this congregation participates in, when they gave us imagination as a theme for this wonderful month of May, they were not necessarily imagining that we should be terrified. I am not sure that in my 8,000 years of preaching that I have ever preached on imagination before. If so, I forgot. And I was looking for resources to try to connect imagination and Unitarian Universalism, and I found a piece that describes how central imagination is and always has been to Unitarian Universalism. I'm sure this piece was written by a Unitarian Universalist, but they neglected to provide their name, so we don't know who they are. But they named several things that I knew and hadn't thought about this way. We Unitarian Universalists engage imagination as a tool for discovering deeper truths. That makes sense to me. And a further point was that if we actually care about this free and responsible search for truth and meaning, that is one of our principles and has been for a long time, how are we going to do that without imagination? To explore different and even strange theological ideas, to question assumptions, and to chart our own spiritual paths. To do all of that, we tell stories. We imagine stories and we tell them. We do deep reflection without quite knowing what we hope will happen. We create rituals. And when we need them, we create communal rituals, both the water ceremony that happens here and in many congregations, UU congregations, when we pour water together from different places to represent the pouring together of our different selves in community. That was a created ritual by some very imaginative people. The flower communion, which we're going to celebrate in a month or so here, which is a way of noticing the beauty and the power of covenantal community in a congregation in a way that was explicitly non-Christian. That was a creation, an imagination and a creation of Unitarians in what was then Czechoslovakia. Imagination itself becomes sacred sometimes because it reflects humanity's intrinsic creative potential to shape the world and our own lives. Some of you know what I mean when I say process theology. Probably lots of you don't, and that's fine. You can live a good life without being able to explain process theology. But know that the central idea is that creativity and change are integral to life and faith, and even to the nature of God, by whatever name. So we may or may not sign on to process theology, but we do tend to align ourselves with a vision of the world as perpetually in the making. And then there's imagination as resistance, which plays a powerful role, not just because we march and make signs, but actually in our theology. Because it's imagination that allows individuals and communities to envision a different reality where justice and equity and compassion prevail. Imagination fosters hope and sustains movements for change, and it counters narratives of despair or inevitability. Think about that. Inevitability and imagination, they resist one another in, I think, a useful and important way. Unitarian Universalists have consistently used imagination to reframe our understanding of the divine and human nature. Really change the central ideas that we profess as a religious tradition. Imagination is a deep part of our theological evolution. Imagination is fun and freeing and playful and exciting. It is often subversive of the status quo, undermining that inevitability of the powers that be. And here's the thing. Our imagination, not our fault, but our imaginations are also almost always limited by what we already know or think we understand. There are certainly brilliant people whose minds are able to push through the edges of current common knowledge, but most people, including me, are not really in that group. So human imagination is true, but less than the whole truth, because it is anchored in prevailing ideas. And those ideas are not always helpful or even true. They are, in fact, often unjust and demeaning. Imagination, in and of itself, can and does lead to violence. Don't believe me, but believe Adrienne Marie Brown, who writes this: "We are in an imagination battle. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Renisha McBride and so many others are dead because in some white imagination they were dangerous. Imagination turns brown bombers into terrorists and white bombers into mentally ill victims. Imagination gives us borders, gives us superiority, gives us race as an indicator of ability. Imagination is one of the spoils of colonization," she says, which in many ways is claiming, colonization is claiming, who gets to imagine the future for a given geography. "I often feel I am trapped," she writes, "inside someone else's imagination, and I must engage my own imagination in order to break free." In other words, imagination, as cool and wonderful as it is, and as much as we know about it, is not everything that we need. And I don't know about you, but I sometimes decide to buy a book that I intend to read and then I don't. And it sits on my shelf for possibly years. And that's true of this book called Radical Curiosity by a man named Seth Goldenberg, who lives much of the time in Rhode Island, which makes me like him even more. Rhode Island is my adopted home when Vermont isn't, anyway. This book, which he calls Radical Curiosity, says that curiosity is, in fact, what we need. He makes a couple of points. He says, because people value knowing over learning. Frequently prefer doing over thinking. Because of those kinds of things, curiosity is endangered, because we leap into answers, he says, without knowing the question. You don't have to put your hands up, but maybe you've done that. I certainly have. Leap into an answer without really understanding the question. The way this tends to work in human history, in communities and science, societies and culture, people, Seth writes, contribute to the story of the future by updating the collective wisdom enshrined in previous chapters. So there's a collective wisdom, it's been around for a while, we think it's really important. We know it has to change, but what we're doing is we're just kind of updating what was already there. Society gets stitched together, he says, in shared code for what we believe and how that translates to the way we live. He calls these legacy narratives. And what happens is that challenger narratives arise, especially in times of turmoil, in times like now. So he published this in 2022. And it's so clear from reading this book that he did not know what was going to happen, and yet he's preparing us for it. He talks about this time of legacy narratives and challenger narratives and the cultural interregnum. Isn't that a great word? The cultural interregnum, which he defines as the messy middle space. And in that messy middle space, both historical narratives, legacy narratives, and challenger narratives coexist. Not smoothly, but they're all here. The point of radical curiosity is to question commonly held beliefs, not just to question them, but to imagine flourishing futures. He says that the way to practice radical curiosity is something that you already know how to do, and that is conversation. Just conversation. Where do we go today, he asks, to seek out those stimulating dialogues in which we can revisit unexamined assumptions and imagine a better society? I like this question so much, and I read it out loud to my husband, and Peter said, "Sounds like church to me," and it does. I hope, to me. We'll leave that right there. Margaret Wheatley, another very wise person of our time, says, curiosity is what we need. We don't have to let go of what we believe, but we do need to be curious about what someone else believes, and to acknowledge that their way of interpreting the world might be essential to our survival. That's a whole lot more than being polite. He talks about the need for fourth places that are dedicated to the future. Maybe congregations are one of those places where we can reclaim our identity as civic actors responsible for shaping the emergent future. Here's another way of saying that, written by one of my colleagues, the Reverend Sarah Smalley, for the service that she is leading today, I believe. The title of which is On What It Takes to Imagine a New World with a Nod to Star Wars Day. I didn't want to let the service go all the way without acknowledging that May 4th is Star Wars Day. So Reverend Sarah says, after much grappling with the state of the world and analyzing the words of activists, pundits, and theologians, here's my working thesis statement for what comes next. 2025 will be the year of the return of the Jedi. But the real world rebel alliance we're building is not a scrappy group of ragamuffins in over our heads. In our coalition, there are atheists, humanists, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus. Wait, she left out Buddhists, so I'm going to put it in. Mystics, pagans, and more. We are policy wonks with political science degrees and crystal-toting dreamers with imagination. We are not wielders of endings, but creators of justice. We are builders of a new way. This is a lot that we are holding in this messy middle space, and we are all holding it, even on days when we would try rather not to think about any of it. And sometimes when I'm trying to find some inspiration about how to be in a time like this, I think about Theodore Parker, Unitarian minister in the 19th century. He wrote the words to the hymn that we're going to sing in a minute. His words are, "Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. Its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living." Theodore Parker is revered by many in our tradition today. He was not only dismissed and criticized and maybe even hated by his colleagues, by many Unitarians in that time, not because of his profound belief that slavery is inherently bad and must not in any way be allowed in the world. It wasn't that made people mad. It was that he said that there is something in Christianity that has nothing to do with the stories in the Bible, that has nothing to do with the traditions of the church. It has to do with all those things he was just talking about. And in fact, Christianity is just a passing thing that's happening in the world. And some of us know that we will get beyond it. This was not okay for people to hear. And yet, by the late 20th century, most of us would have been fine with that. Many of us would have been fine with that. And his ministry was so difficult and so beautiful. And he was beloved by many who actually were curious enough to listen carefully to what he was saying, and who were willing to be affiliated with him at a time when that might get you in trouble with other people. So I think about Theodore Parker. He also is the real origin of the idea that the arc of the universe bends toward justice. He's the one who said it. And Martin Luther King read it and made it slightly more succinct and kept on saying it. But it is from the tradition that we are in and that we treasure. Let us finish this by singing that song, The Hours of Religion. It's in your teal hymnals, and the words will be up here. Please rise or not as you are moved. If you remember who Robert Fulghum is, he's the guy who wrote Everything I Learned. Everything I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten and many other books. You may not know that he, too, is a Unitarian Universalist minister. He was also, he was kicked out. And then he persisted, and we took him in. And for 20 or 30 years, he gave lots of speeches, he wrote books, and what he said in 10 years or so ago, when he sort of came to General Assembly and said, "I'm still here," he said, "Yeah, I was doing underground Unitarian Universalist ministry." Pretty effectively. Closing words from Robert Fulghum. I believe that imagination is stronger than knowledge, that myth is more potent than history, that dreams are more powerful than facts, that hope always triumphs over experience. Our chalice has extinguished itself, but we can say the words anyway.
This is a slightly lighter take on imagination. That was a great sermon, but it was quite deep. For this month, I am going to play from this collection of teaching pieces that is called A Splash of Color. And I love asking students to think of a color and then ask them how they would represent it on the piano. And for some kids, they just, "Oh, I can't do that." And other kids just immediately say bright red, and then they start playing. So I think it's a really great way to consider imagination to represent color in music. And so this is a collection by Dennis Alexander, and the one I'm playing today is called Green Tangerine. So it's two separate things going on.